So I'd like to address a topic which is actually quite an important one, dress code for lawyers. Well, a lot of my clients are tech entrepreneurs, for example, and in that context, if the lawyer, sometimes if a lawyer dresses in a, suit, tie, if you're suited and booted, then it's a bit kind of old fashioned, if you like. So some people legitimately take the approach as young lawyers of going, going casual to match with their clients and to basically not make people uncomfortable. But also there's another perception, which is that if someone is suited and booted, there's some kind of pretense. In other words, it's pretentious that, oh, do you really think that putting on a suit and tie is is somehow enhancing your value proposition? In other words, it's a facade of some kind. Now, I take the opposite approach. And now, in terms of my career, where I've appeared in court, with a wig and gown, and in office environments and in clients' environments, also working in house for periods or on secondments with clients in house. I've always taken the approach that you should be suited and booted. That you should put as much as effort as possible into your appearance. In specifically into the way you dress. And the reason for that is not out of any pretense or attempting to have some kind of facade. On the contrary, it's purely out of respect for the client. Purely out of respect for the client. So you dress well because you respect the client, and you attend a meeting suited and booted because of respect for the client. And it's a way of showing respect, one way of showing respect among others. And that's been my approach. Now, you'll find in modern law firms that people will dress usually in a wild variety of ways, in the sense that usually people have most firms now like to be as flexible as possible and just have a smart dress code. In other words, you should dress in a smart way, but that can be interpreted in a number of ways. And usually, good law firms will allow flexibility in that approach. And I think that's an appropriate approach because there's a number of different practice areas, a number of different approaches that lawyers have. And whilst, the suit and tie and so forth is perceived in some quarters as being old fashioned, I like it, and it's another way that I can basically show respect for my clients. Now, in a court environment, there's different considerations going on. When I've in my capacity as counsel appeared in court, then there's an anonymity aspect to it, which is particularly important for judges who are, say, in a criminal context delivering sentences, or in a civil context delivering adverse judgments. One party's got to lose every time, right? Or in most cases, at least. So, the idea of the wig and the gown in the case of a judge, again, in some contexts, right? Not all judges necessarily have a wig and gown, but there's an idea of anonymity, securing anonymity, and that's particularly important in the criminal context and for barristers, in that the wig and gown secures anonymity. That's one of the arguments that's been deployed for retaining it. But I really think, again, even in that context, it's best to interpret it as being a mark of respect for the proceedings, because it's a requirement of the proceedings and it's a way of showing respect for the proceedings, notwithstanding that it's quite antiquated. So, yeah, that's my view that I share with you. I mean, just in terms of my initial experience when starting out as a lawyer, I found that the time in between court, and there was a practice of so when in particular barristers leave court, taking off their wig and gown and then just having like an open collar. Again, I was super strict with that approach and made sure that at all times I was wearing very smart, appropriate gear, if you like, where you have to change your shirt and put on a tie, as opposed to just wandering around with the open shirt, having kind of derobed. So anyway, I mentioned that because it's an important point. I have considered it a number of times in the past, because especially when you attend meetings and everyone is cash, and then you have the impression, well, ought I to be apologizing for being smart like this? Well, no, is the answer. And you have to adapt to different environments, but you'll find that there's certain cultural differences as well. And on the very few occasions where I've kind of gone more casual, I've quickly regretted it, on the basis of people's perception, because some people expect you to dress very smartly. And just for those people, even if they're a minority, it's worth doing so. That's my view on this, perhaps seemingly peripheral, but I think very important point